We could have taken a week off, It's the holidays. We could have taken a week off, Reed. We really could have taken a week off.
We got really good feedback last week on the podcast. Overall, we have some mix we'll get into, but good viewership. I was really happy. I didn't know how the Christmas Day episode was going to go. So really happy. Thank you all for taking the time on Christmas and the days after to check out the episode. I really appreciate that. But Paul, we have news. We either have good news or bad news first. What do you want?
Let's get this out of the way. Let's address this first.
Okay, so the bad news is we made an oopsie daisy on the podcast last week. I did because I put together the show notes. And Josh Johnson, QB, former LA Wildcats, he was on the practice squad with the 49ers. I made the mistake. I said that he was cut, that he was diagnosed with COVID-19, that he was cut. He was not. And that's the bad news, is that we were incorrect. I hate being incorrect. Even on a Christmas Eve recorded episode, we should have said that he was on the COVID-19 list. You cannot cut any players on the COVID-19 list. But the good news is we found out this mistake. I found out this mistake at 8 a.m. on Christmas Day when Josh Johnson himself messaged me on Twitter and said that we were incorrect. So I guess the good news is that Josh Johnson listens to the Markcast. Like maybe we'll get that shirt going here after the holidays. But so Josh took the time to message me. So Josh, and sincere apologies not to make any jokes about, being incorrect, COVID-19, all these issues. But yeah, we made a boo-boo, and I found out about it from Josh messaging me at about 8 a.m. on Christmas Day saying that we got it wrong. So
thanks for keeping us correct, Josh. We appreciate it. Seriously, we do. We don't, intend to make mistakes here, and we do apologize for any mistakes that might have gone on through the recording of the Markcast. So
yeah, it's the written word is so much easier to go back. You just update, do a quick site refresh. Once the video goes live on YouTube, I do a lot of video stuff on Vimeo. And it's great for my video stuff because if I make a mistake, if I have something typed wrong, I can just re-upload a file and it takes it all, it just replaces everything. But YouTube is terrible. So once we post that video, we added amendums, whatever, all that stuff everywhere. But yeah, a little too late. But thank you, Josh, for listening. Fan of the podcast. If you'd ever want to come on, I don't know if you want to deal with us anymore. But thank you, Josh, for keeping us straight. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So with that moving on, we're going to move on to the news of, we got some XFL news this week. And it's Taylor Heinicke.
Yeah, I struggle saying this name.
Heineke.
I think it's Heineke, but I want to say Heineke like Heineken. Because I used to be a Heineken. I drink Stella and Shinerbach now, but I used to be a Heineken fan.
Let's just call him by his first name so we don't butcher it and irritate him as well. So Taylor is the big story this week. He might be starting for the Washington football team. Might be starting. Yeah.
So of course we, knowing the XFL Markcast luck, we always record these. The second we hit post, we either have something incorrect, like Josh Johnson, or it'll come out. Like we'll post this tomorrow morning. It'll come out 8:01. Alex Smith starting for Washington, but. It's good to hypothesize about. It's crazy. He had a great showing last week against the Panthers, even though they lost, right? I am correct in that. He had a TD. He had thrown one. It got returned on penalty, and then he threw another TD, and it was awesome. And so it was very exciting to see. This is someone I was talking to Paul about this off microphone. We had weeks ago, Mike Mitchell reported, hey, here's a little side note. Former Battlehawks backup QB Taylor Heinicke is getting signed as kind of like a COVID replacement because of all the stuff. This is, if you guys remember, the Broncos, all their players went down. They were on the COVID list. And so they really struggled. They had to bring in that guy from the practice squad, the wide receiver, and they turned him quarterback. So this Taylor was kind of brought in as that for the Washington football team. They say, hey, we don't want to have that happen. And then Alex Smith was down, and then Dwayne Haskins, he was in the private club with the strippers. He got fined. He got his captain's badge taken away, all the bad things. And then he came out and just played a horrendous football game, and he was benched.
Wait, did you say the Panthers won or the Washington won?
I said the Panthers won.
Yeah, the Panthers did win.
Yes. Okay. I'm one for one. So I'm fact checking today.
Mistake. You make one mistake, Reed. I got to check you every single one now.
But yeah, so it was cool. I saw the highlights. Taylor played great. He came in. Dwayne is not right for this world right now. People seem pretty upset with him about everything going on. Have you been following the Dwayne Haskins saga?
Yeah, I think it just he made a mistake, and I don't know if punishment fits the crime. It seems like we got a guy named Dwayne Haskins. I'm reading some behind the scenes chatter on Twitter. It's very speculative. It's very rumor filled, and people in the war room when Dwayne was drafted were not happy with the pick to begin with. So maybe this is a way for them to get out of keeping Dwayne on the team as the franchise quarterback. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate too much, but I think it's interesting because you have a situation like this Dwayne Haskins situation. And then you turn around and look at a basketball situation like the James Harden situation. And you're not seeing quite the uproar from teams when it comes to James Harden because James Harden's a superstar. As much as it pains me to admit that, since he went to Arizona State, James Harden is known for being very loose with the protocols in terms of like it's a running joke that he goes to strip clubs all the time. And with that being said, like, he's not being held as accountable as Haskins is in the situation. So I'm not sure the punishment fits the crime. And I do think that Dwayne is probably is owning this, and it seems like he's owning this, and I just don't know why they cut him. But he's bound to bounce back, and I'm reading that his agent didn't drop him. So that's a big step. If his agent didn't drop him, his agent realizes there's still more there. And we're hoping the best for Dwayne, and hopefully he bounces back and gets another shot.
Well, so now to fact check you, Adam Schefter posted he and his agent David Mulugeta have decided to mutually part ways.
They have, okay,
yeah.
Last time I read they hadn't. So
and that's just Adam Schefter's tweet. So if we're wrong about that, that's Adam Schefter on Twitter. But yeah, I think it was the COVID thing. It was the twice thing. He had broken protocol earlier in the season. This thing was really bad. You have Ron Rivera, who, is battling cancer, is immunocompromised. A lot of different things going on. Needless to say, Heineke played really good. I got some stats, 63.2 completion percentage, 137 yards in that TD. And if you're wondering, why Taylor, I was doing some research, and he had played under Ron Rivera and offensive coach Scott Turner in Carolina. And he, I guess, had played for Cam Newton back when he was hurt back in 2018. So Cam, making the rounds again and always in the news somewhat in the XFL Markcast.
So, he's got a history with Ron Rivera. We're seeing like a lot of these backup quarterbacks have histories with the coaches, like in case of PJ Walker with Matt Rule in Carolina. You're seeing a lot of these backup quarterbacks have these prior relationships with their head coaches, and it's great to see. And this move, honestly, we talk about how the Washington football team is, besides the whole name change thing, there's been news reports about a bad culture in Washington in that football team. And this move that they did with Ron Rivera went to management, went to the front office, said, we got to cut this guy. They empowered Ron Rivera. They've got to stick with Ron Rivera for another 4 years. That's how serious this is, where like Ron Rivera is their coach, and they've empowered him, and it sends a message to the other players that like, this is, it's Ron Rivera's ship. So you need to like get in line and follow him. It's impressive what they've done. And of course you brought that up. And now that I think about it, Ron Rivera is immunocompromised. He did beat cancer earlier this year. So maybe that was the driving force for letting Dwayne go.
Yeah, so right now, we don't know yet. Like I said, Alex Smith, obviously they want him. They're in the Sunday night football game this week against the Eagles. If Washington wins, they're going to, to take the East, which is crazy with their, I think they'll end up being like 7-9. I think it'll be the record. But, so it's obviously they want Alex Smith, but man, it'd be crazy to see Taylor Heinicke on the, Sunday night football in prime time, leading with the XFL. I think that would be exciting for a lot of people.
I also do have a soft spot for Alex Smith. I covered him as the quarterback in the University of Utah when he was up there in 2003, 2004 ish. So, I do have a soft spot for Alex Smith. I like to see him play, but I would also like to see Taylor come in. And do big things. And potentially, I think Washington's still in the playoff hunt, right? Because the NFC East is terrible.
Yeah, they'll win the division if they beat the Eagles on Sunday. So that's what's even more.
The Eagles on Sunday, they render the Giants-Cowboys game irrelevant.
Yeah. So if Eagles win, whoever wins, Cowboys and Giants will take the division. But if Washington wins, then they win outright, and then they will be in the playoffs.
There you go. So all right.
I want you to play real quick. The press conference. They had the Taylor Heinicke. They were asking him. He had he was off, right? He was the Battlehawks backup under Jordan Ta'amu. He was off. He had been obviously laid off with the XFL. Everything else hadn't been playing. And he was studying finals. He was getting ready to take, classes. He was doing classes online. And so this really came out of nowhere. He got called, said, hey, we need you to be the COVID QB. And then he came in and played. So they were asking him about, in the press conference afterward, they were asking him about, coming in and playing.
Taylor, how did it feel? You hadn't played since 2018. You gotten some snaps. How did you feel out there?
Felt great. Again, I've been training ever since, quarantine or COVID hit. I was with the XFL in St. Louis, and we were having a good year. And then, COVID happened, and I was back home training ever since. So, I was prepared for this moment, and it's fortunate that it happened.
Yeah, show some respect for the XFL. I hadn't played since 2018. Get out of here. Pro football, man. I mean, he was a backup, but it's okay. Yeah. But it shows. I just think it shows right now, all these QBs going down, and XFL, they're calling a lot of these names up. We got, PJ came in, won a game. Jordan's, with the Lions now, and we got Taylor. I mean, if he plays Sunday, I'm going to go bonkers. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah, and Rap Sheet is, I guess, reporting that Carolina has some interest in Dwayne Haskins now.
Yeah, Ian was saying that he's been floating around. He didn't get picked up. He got, released. He was on the waiver wire. He didn't get picked up. And so they think it's just too close to the end of the season right now, right? He's got $4.2 million on his contract that he would be owed for anyone that picked him up. But they were saying that Carolina, who has not had a passing TD in the month of December.
False.
That's false.
That is false.
Okay, so I had it in my notes. I had a tweet that the Panthers hadn't had a passing TD in the month of December. Paul is now correcting me on that.
Bridgewater to Robbie Anderson last week.
Okay, so for the first 3 weeks of the season, so 3 weeks in December, the Carolina didn't have a passing TD. Clearly, they need to get something figured out there in Carolina. I have said forever, I think PJ Walker it would be a suitable replacement for Teddy Bridgewater. Do you really think that they would bring in Dwayne Haskins over any of the other possible scenarios they could do?
No. Why do they need they've got their draft pick Will Grier. They've got Teddy Bridgewater for $20 million. They've got PJ Walker. Why a fourth quarterback? Why?
Well, unless you get rid, maybe we talked about Rule being on the outs. Maybe Rule's on the outs with PJ. That would be sad.
Maybe, possibly. Who knows? That's a good question. I mean, we could maybe ask Sheena what the situation is, if she's hearing any of these chatter, and maybe she can update us on what's going on there. So.
Yeah, anyway, but yeah, Godspeed for Taylor. I'll put the video on here right now. He was famous in the XFL for he was drinking there's another video out there with Sergio Castillo. He's shotgunning the Bud Light seltzers for the Roughnecks. And we've got Taylor. He's pounding Bud Light seltzer for the Battlehawks. So I'll try to remember to put up the video for this. But, it seems like a really nice guy. I couldn't imagine coming off the bench playing, fourth quarter, coming out, leading, throwing the TD. I mean, it's just crazy, right? Kind of the world we're living in right now, that former XFL backup quarterbacks. I don't think when we started this podcast, Paul, that you thought that a former XFL backup quarterback would be playing Sunday Night Football, potentially for division lead. Especially
not this one. Jordan Ta'amu hasn't had a shot, but his backup has. Yeah. That's interesting to say the least.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know. That is interesting. It's interesting that his backup that didn't get. I don't think he took any snaps at all in the XFL. In game time. But anyway, so yeah, keep that video. The links on the Google Doc. I'll post that. But the other interesting note with backups and people taking over, trying to win the division. I watched the Rams. I watched this. Again, I have this weird timing to see these weird things in games. I mean, obviously, we're watching the Seahawks play the Rams last week. And I saw the thing with Goff, and he hit his thumb, broke his thumb. Did you watch any of this? He unlocated, it was dislocated. He popped it back into place. Did you watch this?
I did. It looked painful.
Yeah.
It looked painful. You could tell something. You could tell it was jammed up. And with that being said, they've signed former Alliance American Football Arizona Hotshots. That's a lot of A's there.
Yes.
John Wolford apparently is going to start, I guess, this week.
Yeah, Goff's out. He thinks he can make it to the playoffs. I think they're in, but yes, Paul's giving looks. Yeah, so Goff's out this week. The Rams, I believe, are in. They're just playing for a higher seed if they win this week. But I think they're in regardless. And Goff thinks
they're not in yet.
At 9-3,
9-6, they're not in yet.
Wow.
Because I mean, you got the Chicago Bears that are sitting at 8-7. And you've got the Arizona Cardinals that are sitting at 8-7. So essentially what it looks like is, let's see, the Packers are in, the Saints are in, the Bucks are in, the Seahawks are in. There's 2 more spots. Washington or Dallas or New York is going to be the fifth spot. Wait, yeah. Let's see.
They have to beat
7 spots this year, right? Because they extended the playoffs by one team thanks to COVID. So Washington, Dallas, NFC winner is going to get in. So that's 6. So the Bears, Cardinals, and Rams are 3 teams fighting for 2 spots.
Yeah, it said they're going to wild card berth if they beat or tie the Cardinals at home or if the Bears lose. And the Bears are probably going to lose. So I hate to
Are the Bears playing in?
The Packers. Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, I've been watching Good Morning Football this week. God bless them all. Though, well, Bears and Trubisky have a. I think the Packers are going to rout them and take that. But yeah, point being, we have 2 of these alternate football leagues now with quarterbacks leading their respective teams into potential playoff games, which is really wild. This is really wild.
And it just goes to show the power of the alternative football leagues where they can keep these guys fresh and ready for when NFL teams call. I mean, you hate to see a guy that maybe potentially plays an entire year. And I mean, not an entire season, but an entire year from like March until December, January. But that may be the way it's starting to go with some of these backup quarterbacks going to the XFL, going to fan control football, going to all these other alternative football leagues and keeping their stuff fresh. So when they're called on a Sunday in week 5, they might be able to step up and provide something.
And something to remember too, Garrett Gilbert, also a AAF quarterback. He played with the Cowboys back between when Andy Dalton had the concussion. They ultimately lost to the Steelers, but he was competitive in that game, and that was a time in the season when Dallas was not competitive at all. I mean, they've since come back and they're kind of riding the ship a little bit. But so this is not the first time this has happened. But Wolford has crazy stats. He was the leading passer for AAF, throwing 14 TDs in 8 games.
That's a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. It's not really anything to write home about, if I'm being honest. I don't mean to hate. He probably does better than I do, but a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio is you want to kind of get 3-to-1. Better than that. Better than 3.
Anyway, we'll be watching. Yeah, they're playing the Cardinals and Cardinals are in sad right now. I watched them lose to the 49ers last week, and it just seems like they've kind of lost all their will to play this year.
Well, I mean, the same amount of fans are attending Cardinals games now that they do when they're actually playing non-COVID, so it's all good.
Kyler, I always Dorothy and I joke. It's Kyler.
He's so tiny.
Yeah, he's really
so tiny.
I know.
I don't mean to make fun, but he's a short dude. But he plays well above how tall he is. I think he's 5'6" or something, 5'7".
I will never get enough of the the Kyler baby memes.
all Kyler baby memes all the time. And on the keeping on with the XFL, going back to the XFL for a quick second, judge has ordered Oliver Luck to give McMahon lawyers the phone passcode. I thought this was a situation where they were going to have a third party. And
they did. So the third party came in, they imaged the phone, and so they kind of preserved all the data, and then judge ordered Luck to give the passcode. And I will say, I see this is posted. I think we talked about this last week too. I see a lot of people in these articles and when we talk, who cares? It's not current management. Totally understand that, but it's still it's the lineage of the league. I mean, this isn't guys that were involved in the XFL, 30 years ago. This is the guy that owned the league last year and the former commissioner who a lot of people would like to see come back if they could ever get this stuff figured out. So that is why people care. Because I see like you, Mickey Wind, I know you listen, I know you comment, like this is why people care, is because, you know, let's get Luck right and let's get him coming back. And Vince McMahon is a huge personality, you know, owns the WWE, owns the XFL. I mean, this is very much in the news as much as anything else. I don't care what you say.
All right. So with that being said, we're moving on to some quick signings, some XFL signings. A lot of people getting signed. Of course, Cleveland Browns having some COVID issues right now. They lost a very winnable game last week against the Jets because they had no wide receivers. No. They had no and credit to Baker Mayfield. He kept them close in the very end, but they had no wide receivers. So they're making some moves. They're signing some people. They signed a former one of your boys, Michael Dunn from the Seattle Dragons, to their active roster.
Yeah, I just heard today, too, they just had some more COVID cases come out. They are in a must-win against the Steelers on Sunday to get in the playoffs. They are very much in a real possibility that playing this tremendous season with Baker Mayfield and all this, that they will miss out the playoffs. Now, you know, Steelers are benching quite a few people this week. Ben Roethlisberger is taking the week off and a lot of other guys. And so, but with this, I will say, Seattle Seahawks, still the only NFL team without any COVID cases. Just going to say.
Yep. They're keeping it clean. They're keeping it clean for sure. I was going to say this about the Steelers. Can you believe the Jets have won more games the last few weeks than the Steelers have?
It's crazy.
Ooh,
it's crazy.
I've got some friends that are Jets fans, and they are like beside themselves that they couldn't get the tank job right. They are so mad they couldn't tank for Trevor the correct way. But now he's going to go. Now he's going to go to Jacksonville. Now he's going to be all elite.
You got that was the funniest thing this week that they posted that Tony Khan he owns AEW, his family owns the Jaguars. And so whenever they say like if a wrestler goes and jumps ship from WWE to AEW, they post a thing like, oh, like when Miro, coward Miro left WWE, it was like, Miro is all elite and he's joining AEW. And so, yeah, they had one and it was Trevor Lawrence is all elite because he's joining Tony Khan and the crew down there.
So the Colts have signed the Roughnecks punter Austin Reckow. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
To the practice squad. I hope so.
Lions are signing Dallas Renegades defensive back Josh Haskins to their practice squad. Lions also signing DC Defenders center John Toth to their practice squad. A lot of practice squad additions. Lions
and they got Tiamu over there too. I mean, Lions are watching the XFL, man.
They're watching the XFL, and the Niners have a tryout scheduled with former Dragons, your boy Austin Prohl, the son of former NFL receiver Ricky Prohl, which I remember because I'm older than dirt. I keep getting reminded of that. And of course, Austin scored the first ever XFL touchdown back in February.
Yeah, back in the 2020. That's per Mike Mitchell. He does all that research. But yeah, so it's just kind of cool. Again, we don't do the best job of keeping up when I see the signings and stuff. If you want to keep up with like every single XFL guy getting signed, follow, by Mike Mitchell on Twitter. But I do the best I can. I scour the spring league social media and stuff as well to kind of keep up to date as best we can just to make notes of that stuff.
And the XFL, of course, sending out a here's to 2021 tweet. And we're hoping that 2021 definitely is better than 2020 for sure. I'm not saying it was all bad. We started this podcast, started the Wheelhouse podcast. We've had some great moments in 2020. But yeah, we definitely want to get through this COVID thing. So wear a mask, people. Wear a mask and get vaccinated as soon as possible. Please.
This is when we start talking I was thinking like if we had been doing this podcast for like a year, we could do like a best of show and you have like, I will remember you. And then we could like play like
Derek McLaughlin and shit.
And then we play like, we cut to like, oh shoot, I forgot to record that part of the podcast. Like, darn it. Like
all the times you forgot to record those things.
Or like all the times I annoyed you, like, what? We got like our highlights would be definitely an interesting look back through over the last.
Yeah, we did have a best of show on Wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'm scared to check out that episode.
It's like almost 3 hours long.
I'll check it out.
It's good.
Depending on my social standings with you week to week, it depends how quickly I listen to it. Because I don't know how I'm, if I'm in favor that week or not. I'm scared. Mark put together this. I just want to play this. We go through it real quick. We're not doing the best of XFL, whatever this year. I like keeping up the new stuff. We did new stuff on Christmas, new stuff. This is going to be on New Year's Day. But Mark Perry, XFL News Hub, he put together his moments of the XFL 2020 season. First off, obviously, would be the XFL suspending the 2020 season. That was probably the biggest note of that. Do you remember where you were? I know the NBA, we talked about this and the microphones and all that. That guy, I can never remember his name. That basically
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, then it was the next day. We had tickets to the Dragons were playing that weekend. They were playing. Who were they playing that weekend? Wildcats were coming in. I can't remember. And it was going to be no fans only. And then they cut the game. And then it was like the next day they suspended the whole thing.
Well, didn't you guys didn't CenturyLink Field have a COVID outbreak in like the concession area, I believe?
Yeah, CenturyLink had a COVID outbreak. And then the Dragons, I've got behind the scenes knowledge that we won't get into, but about the Dragons players that ultimately got COVID and kind of brought the league down. That's kind of speculative. We don't know that, but it was basically the transmissions happened in the Roughnecks Dragons game down in Houston, and then that kind of spread, and then the XFL realized, because at that point we had no way to contain or trace anything or know what was going on. So the XFL 2020 season, obviously the bankruptcy, that was huge. I think a lot of people thought that they were going to furlough the league and come back. I mean, didn't you think that it wasn't going to go bankrupt?
I didn't think it was going to go bankrupt at all. I thought I thought Vince would stick it out, but I don't know what happened there. I think it was potentially a situation where we saw when the bankruptcy filing happened that the WWE actually did own some stock in the XFL. After all, even though Vince said it was two different entities, we did notice that there was stock that was owned in the XFL from WWE Incorporated. And I think maybe some shareholders were like, dude, what the F? What is this? And that's probably why he got out quick.
Well, we've talked about this too. Yeah, where this was, WWE was really suffering to kind of make their contractual obligations for the TV networks that they were on. They didn't have anywhere to tape any of their events. And so, that was when Florida governor, I always screw this up, Ron DeSantis, right?
That's it.
Who do I say? I say Rick DeSantis. I say the wrong one. That DeSantis.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, that he allowed anyway, but I think Vince was kind of on like panic attack and then decided to just like, hey, I got to cut bait on this. There's some speculation that, Vince might still be trying to get involved in the XFL back. I don't really know. I think he's kind of done. It seems weird. A lot of people are still thinking that The Rock, bought it to kind of keep it within that circle. But I would like to think that they're pretty separate now.
I would too. All right, we're going to take a break real quick. We're going to come back and we're going to talk the big fancy fan-controlled football, I guess, controversy of the week coming up right next. And we're back.
We're back.
All right, we're back. Fan-controlled football, the big shenanigans, I guess, that came out this week. Johnny Manziel signed. That's a good story. But allegedly, the Zappers have claimed a franchise tag on it. What is this?
Yeah, so we got fan controlled stuff now. We got just a couple little other tidbits about spring league and stuff. So XFL, we kind of tried to do that. We're really getting into this fan controlled now. Fan controlled football. It's going through Twitch. You're going to be able to go on and vote. As much controversy as could be in this league right now, and as many DMs as I could conceivably get as this podcast host, which is not many, but I got a lot of messages yesterday from people very upset about this. The whole idea with this fan-controlled league is it's the fans go on. It's basically like you make your fantasy voting every week. So like you go on and you go, okay, well, we want this guy and this guy and this guy. And then the next week. So it's kind of weird, right? Who knows what that's actually going to look like on the field, but that is what they're trying to do. It's basically like real life fantasy football, but on a field. Right. And so we had talked in the past, Johnny Manziel, they had talked about bringing them on, as one of the quarterbacks. We kind of thought that was publicity, just trying to get the name out there. We've had Patrick Deese on the show. I didn't even ask him about it at the time, just because I really did think it was just like total fluff. We're going to talk to Chase Baker today about it, our fan. I guess we should have plugged that at the beginning of the show. So yeah.
It is what it is.
Sorry, Chase. Chase is going to come on to talk about fan, but I like to keep them separate. I mean, we're XFL podcast, but then we've got Fan Control, we've got XFL. But anyway, so they've signed Johnny Manziel this week. It came out Wednesday of recording. It's official. He's inked. And now they are making this, they're claiming, the Zappers are claiming that they have a franchise tag on him, which supposedly locks him into that league. And I've had numerous people that follow this league, Alternate Football Scout, Fan Control Football News, you guys, they message me on Twitter as well as fans, and they go, this is total like BS. Like, this is not a real thing. They are making this be a rule. I reached out, we tweeted at Fan Control yesterday and Patrick Deese. I said, if anybody could please come on and explain what a franchise tag is for Fan Control Football. I understand the idea of what this is. I Googled Fan Control Football, franchise tag, and it's never been mentioned before. This has never been a thing until Johnny Manziel was signed with the league. What do you say, Paul?
I think that there's some explaining that needs to happen. I don't know. I'm hoping that this is weird because they've gotten these people into the league, these owners of these teams and stuff like that, under the premise that they would draft fresh teams every week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening here? Like, why is this exception being granted to this one player? Is it because it's Johnny Manziel? I mean, removing the goalposts in my opinion.
Yeah, and what I don't like the most about it is I think the idea was, in just this week, people have reported, Kenny Stevenson, he listens to the podcast, people congratulating the Fan Control Football for reaching out to some of the smaller schools, some of the D3 schools that maybe don't get as much, publicity with their players, whatever, trying to find good players to come in and play. And then here you bring in Johnny Manziel, and it's like, okay, well, that overshadows like every single other thing that you're trying to do. That's kind of what I think.
I'm actually asking Patrick right now via DM, see if he can get to us before the end of the show.
I would happy to. I messaged him yesterday, and I messaged him this morning. I would love to know. Obviously, they're getting big. And here's kind of my thought about it too. Right. It's kind of like when WWE used to be like, we're going to have this draft. Or no, we're going to have like this celebrity on so we can get a plug on like SportsCenter, right? So SportsCenter broke the news about Johnny Manziel coming on Fan Control Football. Spoiler alert, SportsCenter is not going to cover Fan Control Football like we are going to cover it, or like other people are going to cover this like week in and week out. Like, they'll check in, Johnny Manziel plays the first game. They'll run a story on it. But like, I just feel like at this point, you're almost alienating some of the people and some of the players and some of the fans that like felt like they were going to be invested in this more than bringing in this guy, this, what people have called a washout or a has been, not my words, but these are things I've seen float about. I mean, it just seems weird to me that this is happening. Oh, keep that quote real quick. Greg Miller, who is one of the other owners. So Greg Miller, Kind of Funny Games. All these teams are owned by social media guys. Greg Miller tweeted yesterday, he's the Wild Aces owner. This is preposterous and a blatant violation of the rules. There was supposed to be a draft, in all quotes. So I don't know how much of that shtick, right? Greg is kind of a shticky guy. He makes fun, but obviously I think that this is getting into, I don't know.
I think they're moving the goalposts, as I like to say about a lot of things in life and political situations. They're moving the goalposts, and this appears to be a moving of the goalpost, where they brought all these people in under the premise that every week they're going to draft fresh teams. They're going to keep the line units the same, apparently. But yeah, I mean, you can't just change the rules because you get one player. Like, that just doesn't seem fitting. And I don't know if it's going to be a situation where every team gets one franchise tag at that point. So then, the Wild Aces get to franchise someone. I don't know. But there seems to be some voting that needs to be cleared up, and hopefully we get an answer from either Chase Baker coming on the show later on, or Patrick Deese by the end of the show. Hopefully we get an answer to this big Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, because we're signed up with the Beast, even though we're that's just who I signed up with at the beginning to kind of get info about the league. And even the Beast, so they tweeted, oh, this is good because, we were going to use our franchise tag for somebody else and we never would have picked a quarterback. I'm like, this is all like, you are just making this up now. Like, oh, see, we weren't going to use ours for Johnny Manziel anyway. Like, it's glad that they good that they brought him in. Good that they signed him. And the idea is that Johnny is friends with Bob Menery, who's one of the co-owners of the Zappers. And so the idea is like he kind of talked him into coming in, and so he feels like he wants to be on that guy's team, which I completely understand in the worlds of NFL and Spring League and XFL and all this other stuff. Right. But this is fan-controlled football, and the idea is that the fans are supposed to be voting. Point being, I think a lot of people would really like some answers. I did reach out to Patrick and people to try to get him to come on today, and I have not heard anything yet, and I will continue to reach out, and Paul will as well.
Yes. Other little fantasy-controlled football notes, fan-controlled football notes, I should say. The reception rules. What's the situation with this? Are they going to go 1 foot or 2 foot?
Yeah, so they're still voting right now. So part of the fan controlled, we voted for the team names and the logos. We're going to talk about the hashtag voting. I want to get your thoughts on some of the hashtags. But the idea is you can vote if it's receptions are 1 foot inbounds or 2. Obviously, that's NFL versus college. XFL had the 1 foot inbounds as well. I see, obviously, NFL has done it a million years the one way. What do you think about the 2, and where pros and cons to both?
Pros to the 1 are you'll get more points. In theory, you should get more points. It's more college based. But the thing with the 2 is like this is a fan controlled football league. Like, the players, it's hard enough in the pros to get 2 feet in. And, they pull it off a lot of times, but it's still really hard to get both feet in. So if you want to increase scoring and if you want to increase, you got a 50-yard field. It's like arena football, basically. But if you still want to increase scoring, make it 1 foot. Make it 1 foot, especially in an arena league where you kind of want to be safe and you don't want to like overextend someone worrying about getting 2 feet in. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it definitely would add. This is a little bit more gimmicky of a league anyway. And so I do think having the 1 foot inbounds would just, like you said, kind of increase to have more, more points and everything involved. Some of these hashtags. So the vote right now, there's 2 votes going on. You can go on to FCF. It's like FCFFL.io or whatever. Just Google Fan Control Football. You go on their Twitter. They have all the hashtags. So I want you to get your thoughts on these. For the Beasts, you got to vote for one of these. Hashtag, you know why I'm here, which we all know is Marshawn Lynch because he is one of the owners. Beast mode, be at down. Beat down, Reed.
Oh, beat down.
Not voting for that one. Beast mode, beat down. Unleash the beast. Play me and make green. Release the beast.
Let's do beast mode, beat down.
Beast mode, be at down. That is Paul's. I did, why I'm here because of the Marshawn Lynch thing, because that's what he said. Like, I'm here so I don't. I think the hashtag should have been "I'm here so I don't get fined," but that was the actual line. But team hashtags for the Zappers: Zappity McZappity Zap, get zapped, zap without warning, zap them, all zaps, no cap.
All zaps, no cap.
Yeah, that's a good one. And like no cap, right? That's like no limits, right?
No lie.
For the Glacier Boys with the Z, cold-blooded, iced out, better than the Wild Aces, which is funny because they have a few going with the Wild Aces. Put them in our Glacier or Frosty in Hotlanta.
Iced out,
nice and clean. And then the Wild Aces, Ace in the Hole, Lactation Nation. Here's Johnny, the Ace is wild, and get aced.
Can they do Here's Johnny? Because, Johnny Manziel? I don't know. I want to go with the Ace is wild.
I think they have hashtag Lactation Nation because they wanted the team name to be the Milk Mommies, but they like wouldn't allow them to do that. So this was their follow-up, was that they would have the Lactation Nation would be their hashtag.
Ace is wild. That's my pick on that.
I just want to run down this TSL stuff real quick before we get to our garbage segment. We have some Spring League stuff.
We still got to talk to Chase, man.
Yeah. I keep forgetting Chase. I'm sorry.
Well, let's bring Chase in real quick. Let's take a commercial break. Bring Chase in. We'll come back, talk to Chase, and then we'll run down the TSL and other stuff.
I'm just so excited, Chase. I can't wait to talk to you.
Clearly.
There we go.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Look at that cool microphone.
Hey.
It's glowing.
Appreciate you, HyperX.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Doing well, Reed. What's going on, man?
Good. And this is Paul.
Nice to meet you, Chase.
Paul, nice to meet you as well.
Just actually got a word back from Patrick Dees.
Hey,
The franchise tag on Manziel is legit. The Zappers are going to be able to keep him.
really? Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. We were just talking about that with some of the guys. If interesting, that's cool though.
What are your thoughts? It's like I brought it up, and I thought they're kind of moving the goalpost on this and changing the rules a little bit. What are your thoughts?
A little bit, right? Hopefully, that this doesn't, create too much friction. My thought is that I'm sure he wants to come in and, I'm sure he wants in on the business, but I have no idea. I've not talked to Manziel. I don't know the business side. I don't know anything about negotiations. So I'm just talking out my ass. So,
Well, because we talked about this on the show, so we're doing your segment here and we're going to insert it back in. I had for as many DMs as I could ever possibly get from my limited following, people really upset about all of this. I'm like, well, I thought this was supposed to be a draft and all this stuff. So that's why we're talking about it. I mean, I had a lot of people reach out yesterday and say like, this is, we had never heard of anything, like guys that are exclusively following this fan controlled stuff on Twitter being like, I've never heard of this. And I've read through all the rules.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And I honestly thought that there should have been something like that where they get to choose, a number of players each week that they keep and people can't steal, something like that. But I'm a coach and I still don't understand everything. I don't understand the rules. I don't understand the procedures still. So I'm learning with all of you guys. You guys probably have paid more attention than I have, honestly. I'm just getting prepared to coach D-line. But no, there's a lot of different moving parts, and it's going to be interesting how it all comes together.
How did you get involved in all this? What was your story in getting involved?
Honestly, Ray. I met Ray probably 2.5 years ago at a couple gaming events. I'm heavily involved in the gaming side just as much as football. I coach, local high school here. I do a lot of the Cowboys youth programs and stuff. So I stay involved with the coaching, but also I'm a big gamer, big on the gaming side. And so I went to a gaming event with Ray, and 2 years ago I was like, hey, let me know if you need any D-line coaches or if I can get involved. And we just stayed in contact for the last couple of years. And as this thing started to really flesh out and they were getting ready for a season, he was like, you still interested? I'm like, hell yeah. So went out to the Houston Combine and ran that stuff, and they liked the way I work. And yeah, here I am.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's it's a cool balance, right? Of all the esports and how exciting everyone, that's like a worldwide thing now, right? I mean, all these people are watching all these competitions. And then you have just this love of football. I think it was yesterday, NFL had 65 of the 100 top, broadcasts of the year or whatever. I mean, so it's definitely like the marriage of both. Do you enjoy, where else would you find something like that, right? They would kind of like marry both of your passions together so uniquely.
Yeah, I think it's perfect the way it happened. I'm really excited about it, honestly. This has been something I've been working on for a long time. I've been trying to figure out how to kind of, like you said, marry it, right? Create that bridge. There's a bit of a gap between the esports world and athletes, and there's some room we have to make up, and we can help these guys utilize it. But right now it's pretty underutilized, and the partnership with Twitch and being able to work on Twitch, obviously, the NFL has, the traditional, the TV side of things pretty well locked down, as you see. But Twitch is like the fourth biggest use of the internet, or in terms of data on the internet. It's huge. It's enormous. And so I'm excited for the guys, honestly. Obviously, the league is about putting a product on the field, and we want to make sure that product's the best possible. I want my guys to kill it. And so but on the flip side of that, I want them to be able to utilize this and, ride some of the attention and the ability to use this Twitch stuff to build their own stuff and be ready for that transition out of football as well. So, it's everything I enjoy combined to one for sure.
Exactly. You said you're coaching the D-line, right?
Correct.
Are you coaching all the units or just one specific unit?
So it's all the D linemen. We're just one unit of D line, right? And so the way I understand it, and I don't know how much I can tell. I probably should talk to Patrick before I jumped on here, but
we're all friends. Yeah, we're not trying to get anything.
Right? Yeah, definitely.
Trying to get in trouble at all.
No, but the way I understand it is there's going to be two defensive units, right? And each defensive unit is going to play 2 games. And so it's an A or a B. And so I think we're trying to figure out if there needs to be a stark difference between, maybe this is a run stopping, shorter, bull rush guys, and these are the faster guys. And we kind of differentiate the defensives. We're still figuring all that out. But yeah, I'm going to be coaching both sides of the D line. And so, not both sides, but all the D line, we're just one big unit essentially. And then, we'll be divvied out to 2 different teams, it sounds like.
And so you said you were down in Houston with a lot of guys, running that. A lot of good talent coming in. I mean, talk about, people we're excited. We can follow a lot of these different alternate football leagues, right? And so the fan controlled football works for us because it's a lot of guys that maybe we've seen on other things, right? Transitioning over and then maybe eventually getting to the XFL. So what, are you seeing a lot of good talent, a lot of good passion, a lot of good hunger?
Definitely. And so Houston was cool because it was a smaller combine. I think in Atlanta they had well over 120 guys or something like that. Houston was a little smaller. It was a little more invitational. And so we got some solid talent out there. I think we signed most of the guys we had in Houston for our D linemen. And there's guys that have some solid abilities, man. That we got some quicks, we got some strength. We got guys that played over in Europe and Germany. We got, like you said, some XFL guys, some of the AAF stuff. And so, just broad stuff. We got D1 guys that played at huge schools and guys that come from D2. So it's a good variety. But the athletic talent there, and I hope I can just, emphasize their strengths and help them, be a badass D lineman.
How much input do you say you would like to see you give in potentially building these units?
Honestly, like I'd love, I don't know. As long as I can help the guys, like I said, I just want to help these guys come out. I think they're very much focused on the offense side of things, just like in any fantasy stuff. Sorry, my dog missed it.
Okay.
He's trying to play with me. You want to see him? Here you go. Say hi, guys.
Oh, God.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Dogs.
That's my bulldog. That's my boy Riggs. But, well, sorry, what was the question?
How much input would you like to have in helping build the defensive units?
I think that comes. I'll refer to my D coordinator, Coach Carter. I'll let him kind of decide that. But for me, it's all about D linemen. D linemen. The only thing I care about. I want to provide resources for my D linemen. I want to make sure they're set and ready to go. They're in shape. Their technique's solid, and they're ready to go out and kick ass. So it's all about D linemen for me.
When you've seen kind of the rollout here and the teams and the owners and all the different interactions going online, right? And people are trash talking and people are having fun and people are doing, do you think, I guess, what are your thoughts on that and seeing this league kind of build this culture, right? Kind of before our eyes, as we're following it and being involved in all that stuff.
Yeah, man, I think this is definitely, like you said, it's very unique culture. And there's 2 sides of this, obviously. There's football, and then there's the operations and business, right? And so I think I have a cool opportunity to kind of make sure there's a bridge and that they understand each other, and hopefully we can work very, cohesively to create some cool on the field. In terms of the Twitch and the content creation side, in terms of getting them interacting with fans, I just want it to feel natural. I want it to feel, authentic, and I want the D lineman to kick ass. That's all it comes down to.
Very cool.
What do you want when people are going to tune in for this? A lot of our listeners, right, are fans of these alternate football leagues. What do you want them to see, or what do you want their reaction to be when they're watching the product on the field?
If you're asking me, I want them to look at the D linemen and think that they set the tempo for this entire league. It's 3-on-3, and so every D lineman's dream is just one-on-ones, never having to worry about slides, not having to worry about chips, not having to worry about So this is a chance for all these D linemen to put on tape, man. They get to go one-on-ones, go beat the guy in front of you, and put on pressure and get these sacks. And obviously, to me, it sounds like it's definitely going to be a more a pass-happy league. But at the same time, these guys will be ready to stop the run as well. So I think I want them to see a very versatile D-line group that they can get after it, and that they have all their dreams set in front of them. The one-on-ones all day. Go wreck shop.
Have you ever heard of anything like this before? Experienced anything like this before? It's such a unique concept.
It is very unique. It's been a struggle, I think, kind of creating the model of what we want to go after. I've been looking at, CFL film to get that feel for that 1 yard off the ball, because I played up in CFL for a year. It's different. It changes the way your hands interact. It changes the way you lean. It just messes with your technique, and you have to get used to it. So been looking at that, been looking at a lot of the arena league, showing them what it looks like to rush with just those three guys, just three O-linemen. It sounds like we're going to be very tight. There's not going to be wide guys that have straight shots at the quarterback. They're going to have to work through the one-on-one. So it's going to be interesting. It's cool. We get to bring a lot of different dimensions from different leagues, from different styles of play, and we get to work with it all.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Are you comfortable with the protocols that the league has taken? We're still in the middle of this pandemic, so are you comfortable with the protocols the league's taken in terms of controlling COVID? Absolutely.
I love what they're doing, and as we get forward, I think that's a big draw to it. Honestly, is they brought in. I'm not sure of the name of the doctor, but she's worked with the NFL. She was in the NDBA bubble. And she's been very clear on what her expectations are. We're taking tests before we get out there. I'm driving. I'm in quarantine right now, getting ready as we kind of are going to head out next week. I'm all about this. I want this. I think there's some optics involved in it, and with masks and everything, there's definitely optics in there. But as many ways we can stay safe, I think it's just best to stay safe and keep our guys healthy, because on the back end of that, this is an investment, right? They put a lot of time and energy and money into this, and one guy gets corona, it can kill everything. So we want to make sure everybody's on the same page, that we're protecting this league that we're building, so that they can use it. Because if it's gone, they don't get to leverage it. They don't get to leverage the Twitch. They don't get to use the social currency that they're going to have available to them. So we want to protect it, and if that's wearing masks and staying in quarantine for a couple of weeks and making sure we're very limited on how we interact, so be it. But
yeah, that was my last question too, was when we talked with Patrick, he had said, part of it was obviously developing and having the play and the players, right. And having a good game to watch, but also it's these players being able to leverage, right, their personalities, their social media. Here we've been following like Juju all season, dancing and building this brand. And, I just read an article today that he's working with a lot of the other Steelers, right, to build their brands out and be able to kind of monetize that. What are your thoughts on that, with the fan controlled, with Twitch, with the online and all the social stuff?
Yeah, I think Juju kind of set the standard for this, right? And we just, on the business side, we got to do some stuff with Twan and Juju, and we kind of set up a podcast between them. But that's exactly what we want to do. We want to bring in collaborations for these guys. We want to bring in, these guys have passions and enjoyment outside of football. So if, they love being a DJ, or they love playing the guitar, or if they're, workout junkies, we want to provide them a way to get on and provide entertainment or value to whoever wants to watch, man. And so definitely Juju's kind of set that standard. And I think with this partnership with Twitch, we have the ability to kind of carry on. And I think that's going to be the big appeal for this league for guys, as they're looking, if they don't get that NFL chance, you look in CFL, you look in other places, they can look at this league and be like, well, they're going to give me the platform to build my brand outside of football. And that's a big deal. Because that transition can be tough, and if you're not ready, and if you're not, if you don't position yourself, it can be dark days. So I'm all for it.
Well, Chase, we appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in and chatting with us on the Markcast here. Looking forward to seeing Fan Control Football and what you guys do there.
Thanks, Paul. Bye, Reed.
And happy 2021. Hope it works out good.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Happy New Year's, guys.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Stay healthy, stay safe.
Bye, guys.
Not forgetting anything.
I just didn't want to forget the Spring League. I took the time. We didn't talk about reviews at the top of the show. XFLshow.com/review. I spend a lot of time every week, too much time, an inordinate amount of time filling out this Google Doc. I swear, if Ward's work here, XFLshow.com/review. If you're a Spring League fan, we're still talking about that. We're still waiting on our merch. My new Markcast, we had a reprint. So my new Markcast one came yesterday, and Dorothy goes, "Oh, I thought that was your package from Brian Woods. That we're all waiting, Brian. We're all waiting on our Jousters merch."
Yeah. So with that being said, let's talk about some. We want to thank Chase Baker, by the way, for joining us to clear up some things about the fantasy fan control football. I keep saying fantasy.
Yeah.
I keep saying fantasy.
You do that.
Fan control football.
And Mark does it too. Mark calls it your call football. I'm like, Mark, it's fan control football. FCF.
Yeah. All right. TSL News, Hunter Niswander. This is impressive.
Well, they tweeted this out. He's not in the spring league, which is weird. But Spring League tweeted out former XFL punter Hunter Niswander. He's on the Cowboys. And I guess they were prepping he played for the Defenders. They were prepping at Jerry World, and he was punting practice punt balls through the scoreboard.
I'm not really impressed, and I'll tell you why. Let me finish. When I was working in Salt Lake, we went to cover BYU game at Jerry World, and balls were going off that stupid scoreboard all the time.
Okay.
It's nothing new. College kids were punting it off the scoreboard, and they just rule the ball dead, and then, you have to repunt. Because the whole point of punting is you want to get hang time involved. And it's just you can't really get hang time involved. That big old scoreboard up there. It's massive. We've actually been in that stadium for WrestleMania. We know how big that Tron is. It's huge. And I've witnessed punters kick balls off this. This is nothing.
So you're saying something's inherently wrong with Jerry World, that the
scoreboard is too low. Yes, I'm saying that right now.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that. Yeah, we saw WrestleMania there when Roman Reigns came out. They took that scoreboard's 50 yards long, right? And they put applause on it. So everyone remember that, and everyone would cheer Roman Reigns.
Or when there was that triple threat match for the women's title, and they would put up woo on there to get people to cheer for Charlotte Flair, and it was no one's cheering for Charlotte today.
I boo the woo.
Some more spring league additions, I should say, all to the CFL. We got Austin 2018 linebacker Brandon Manis. Hopefully I'm saying that right. He's rejoining. I guess he was part of the Edmonton football team for a little bit. He's rejoining them. Is that what I'm reading right? We got defensive end Lord Haimang. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name probably. He's re-signed with the Alouettes. James Folston, an outside linebacker from the Jousters. Signing with the Edmonton. I can't speak. Edmonton football team, and defensive back Raheem Wilson is rejoining the Stampeders. So.
Yeah, a lot of, we know Kent Shelby, friend of the show, he came from the CFL to the Spring League to kind of, stay in shape and whatever. And so a lot of these guys are bouncing back. We're definitely going to be covering, some of the CFL. I got to see how time goes, how in-depth we're going to get, but we're definitely going to be covering, CFL stuff here on the Markcast, kind of in this extra segment after the XFL.
Right. Some of the stuff that we wanted to cover real quick at the end of the show, our garbage segment, so to speak. The extension of the regular season is 17 games. I don't know who they add as everything's perfect right now. You get a game against a division, you play 4 teams in a division. You play 4 teams in a division in the other conference. Where do you add the other game? Everything's perfectly symmetrical right now, and it bothers my OCD that they're going to add a 17th game.
Well, I think it's weird. This is going to be a really odd reference. It was I used to watch Project Runway all the time. And it was always the final 3 would go to Fashion Week and they would all show and whatever. And then 1 week they go, well, now this season we're having 4 people go. And you go, well, then where do you stop? And then the next season it was 5 people, and the next season it was 8 people, and then it doesn't even matter anymore.
And they're talking about cutting down the preseason games. And I think this is a stupid idea because we saw how many injuries we had with no preseason, and you want to shorten that and potentially risk injuries. I think this is a dumb idea. I've been saying I think it's a dumb idea.
Well, and you've got the Steelers benching almost all their starters this week, right? Bills are talking about doing the same thing for their game, right? A lot of these teams, they're trying to rest these players out and get them to the playoffs. And if you're adding weeks, but my big question about this is if they add the 17th week and they push back the Super Bowl, that affects the XFL when the XFL is going to start.
Potentially, yes. Potentially.
So, we've been talking, everyone for months. Why doesn't the XFL announce? Why didn't they do it this year? What's going on? It's coming back next year. I know XFL board or whatever, every day they tweet 408 days, 407 days, 406 days.
They're counting more than you are.
Well, episode 79, the Markcast before the XFL kickoff. But what I'm saying is if they extend it out, that really affects the XFL too. If they add, NFL is king and you have to do everything else around them.
Other garbage notes here. Did you see the Cheez-It shower? That's great.
Well, we talked all about what was it last week? The French fry shower, right? The Idaho Potato Bowl. This week we had Cheez-Its, and then Jay Noakes was incensed that the Mayo Bowl, they didn't dump mayo on him. Jay was incensed.
Did you see that?
Well, it was
the trophy for the Mayo Bowl?
They dropped it, right? The team broke it.
They broke that should be a tradition every Mayo Bowl. You have to break the trophy. You have to drop the trophy and break it and replace it with a bottle of mayo. That needs to be the new thing.
Would you rather have fries dumped on you or Cheez-Its dumped on you?
Depends. Are the fries seasoned or salted?
Normal French fries, they probably got salt on them.
Still fries.
Yeah.
Still go with fries.
I don't know. They dumped the Cheez-Its, the Gatorade, all this. I hate all of this. It's food waste. We need to lock it down.
We're in a pandemic, people.
Yeah. Did you like this Bitcoin story I put in here?
I did. I think it's interesting to say the least. I am a big fan of cryptocurrency, but I still think it's really volatile. Even though I'm a fan of it, I still think it's really volatile, and I'm not sure that he's getting actually half of his 13 million in Bitcoin because it might drop through the floor. And he might end up with 7. He might end up with like 4 million instead of 6.5, whatever it is.
Yeah, half it. Yeah, Russell Okun, he's with the Panthers, right? Yeah, he's with the Panthers.
He's with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I know Russell. I know that. Yeah, he's getting 13 million and whatever, and he wants half of that paid in Bitcoin, and they're going to put it. I read this whole thing. They're going to put it in an account, and it's going to transfer whatever. But that's risky. Is 13 million in Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin high right now?
That's 20 grand, I think. 20 grand per Bitcoin.
Wow. And if you're people that don't, Dorothy right now is Googling Bitcoin, but it's like a cryptocurrency. There's a lot of them. It's gone, it started really low and then it was up and people make money and lose money.
It's actually up to 28 grand right now per Bitcoin.
Wow. So if you had like one Bitcoin, but see, you could lose it all. I mean, it's like.
Right. And it's like, you wish you would have bought that at a penny. Because there used to be a time where you could buy that for like less than a penny.
Nothing. Yeah.
And then you would have been, I wouldn't have to work.
No, we could just Markcast and Wheelhouse all the time.
Yeah, there you go. That would have been the dream, right? That would have been the dream. So smart for Russell getting his, and I mean it's raised. I remember I read this story. It was 20,000 when he got his 13 million, half his 13 million in Bitcoin, and it's up to 28 now. So he's already making some money. He's already making some good coin.
I would pull that out right now. 6.5 million times with that. I'd pull that out. You've made 20% or whatever on that. I would pull that. You
made 50%. If it's at 20 million, it's up to 28. That's almost a 50% increase.
40%. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really good at math, but that's the way it looks to me. So, I mean, you're talking, let's do the math real quick. If you have a 40% increase on 6.5 million, that's already getting you to 3.75 million extra right now.
That's crazy.
So good on Russell. Smart.
Paul, I think there's a really real chance that we could get Kurt Warner on the Markcast. What do you say?
You have to get through his wife first.
So
no, look, do the research, do the homework. Like his wife controls his career. Like every time he was benched, you'd see him in a press conference, his wife sitting right next to him, calling the owners out. I don't know, man. You'd have to go through her first.
So last week, I gave Kurt crap online. He picked the Patriots against the Dolphins, and I said you were crazy. And he tweeted me back, "Hey, I'm just trying to make good TV." And then this week he goes, "I never understand why there's so much attention for like the suits I wear on air, right? Like."
Well, because we got rid of Don Cherry at NHL, so now we got to pay attention to someone's suits.
Yeah,
have you seen Don Cherry's suits?
No.
Okay, when you have some free time, Google Don Cherry, and it's hilarious. Keep going.
And so he goes, I just can't believe there's so much attention. Like basically, like women have said for 100 years, right? Like listen to what I have to say and not what I'm wearing. But I guess a lot of people are making fun of Kurt Warner, and so I tweeted the Drake gif, like, "Oh, you fancy? You fancy?" And then he tweeted back. He goes, "I am fancy." So this is 2 weeks in a row. I'm working on Kurt Warner. If you guys want Kurt Warner on the Markcast, I think we're gonna get it.
Go for it. All right. So moving on. Dorothy loves Fitzmagic. What is this?
This was Saturday, NFL Saturday last week. Raiders took on Miami. Everyone knows, back and forth. So Dorothy my wife will have never watched the team before. And then like, we're watching the game and it's like, she has lived there her whole life. Right. It's like the Raiders, they were the underdogs. They had the worst, they weren't going to get in the playoffs or whatever. And she is like all in on Derek Carr, all in with the Raiders. And, they went back and forth and then they benched Tua and then Fitzpatrick came out and then he got his face ripped off and he threw the touchdown. And she goes, I hate Ryan Fitzpatrick. And she hates Ryan Fitzpatrick with a passion. And then this photo, which I'm going to put on here, it was the Dolphins tweeted the next day and it was Fitz Santa, right? Is that the hashtag, whatever the stupid word they use? Yeah. Fitz Santa dropping dubs under the tree. Leave that link on there because I'm going to put, but she hates it and she hates Fitzpatrick even more that he has 7 children. She thinks that that's unsustainable.
I mean, Philip Rivers has like 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Antonio Cromartie has like 9 or 10, something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Fitzpatrick, I'm all in. I want a Fitz. I also really did make a conscious effort this week to get a Taylor Heinicke custom Washington jersey.
I know you did.
But they're out of stock, or I don't know if they've just stopped making like the custom Washington football ones because they're going to, they're changing the name again next year. But I really did I even like messaged the NFL shop on Twitter. I was like, hey, when you guys going to be getting new custom jerseys coming in?
Friend of the show, not really a friend of the show, but Scott Van Pelt is back on the mend from his COVID diagnosis. So shout outs to him. Hopefully no long-term effects like we're seeing with other people. There was an article that came out today, and I hate to bring this down for a second, but apparently 30% of Ohio State athletes that had COVID had some kind of heart issue after they healed from COVID. So hopefully as well, Scott Van Pelt's not seeing any long-term residual effects from his COVID diagnosis.
Yeah, he tweeted, he goes, I can't smell. I can't taste. I don't need to do either to do a show. I've tested negative. I'll see you at midnight. And I was like, yeah.
If you've ever heard that voicemail phone call that we tried to play here on the Markcast once, you can tell Scott Van Pelt has no taste. So JJ Watt called out some players. I remember I paraphrased this. I read an article where he's calling out some players saying, if you don't want to be here, don't be here.
Yeah, this is kind of the end of the show. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on this, if you saw this at all, or listen. I listened to the whole thing. It was fascinating.
They're going to get a whole change of culture. Looks like they're going to hire Eric Bieniemy as their new head coach, and Eric Bieniemy is going to be a great hire. I'm dismayed and sad that Arizona didn't pull the trigger and hire Eric Bieniemy as their head coach, not the Cardinals but the Wildcats, because I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be a great head coach. And once Eric Bieniemy comes in with that culture, people like J.J. Watt are going to thrive even more. I mean, J.J. Watt's one of the best players you can watch on the defensive end of the ball right now. But when Eric Bieniemy comes in, and Eric Bieniemy is going to have Deshaun Watson, that culture is going to be completely different. So J.J.'s going to be that guy to help kind of bring Eric in. And I'm telling you, the Texans are going to be fun to watch in a couple years. Yeah. When they get some offensive weapons, they're going to be great to watch. And J.J. Watt's going to definitely be part of that culture.
Yeah, JJ they lost last week. They're like 4-11 or whatever. And he went on a big rant about like how, we have the greatest job in the world and we're paid all these millions of dollars to come and play. And if you don't want to work out, if you don't want to be here. And, I just started thinking about that because I thought, God, look at all these guys in the spring league and the XFL and all these guys that would just bend over backwards to come on here and do this. And I just thought, it's gone. I still have seen it circulating, this week that it really resonated with a lot of people. And I think, fans, we care and we want to see players that are passionate about it.
Definitely. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up today's show, this week's show. I want to thank Chase Baker again for joining us here on the Markcast. I know Reed forgot about you a couple times, but
normally we do the interview first and then it's fresh in my mind. But now I'm looking at the clock. We have Chase coming on in 5 minutes. Pseudo, it's like Inception here on the podcast, and we're gonna record him now and insert him later in our break. It's gonna be radio and podcasting magic that we're giving away all the trade secrets. So with that being said, want to thank everybody for listening. xflshow.com/review is the address to go leave us a review. xflshow.com/merch. Go buy some merch. We're going to put some more merch up now that we got a new logo. Reed, of course, is wearing the hoodie today. Hopefully we get more merch back up there. We have to change the logo up. Yeah, and happy end of 2020 and happy 2021. This is coming out on New Year's. I hope that this is a successful year for everybody. And we're only 1 year away from XFL football, so it could not be worse.
So there we go. We'll actually have something to cover without filling the Google Doc with the garbage segment, Reed, right?
Hey, we're making it happen. We've made it 21 weeks now. We're getting there.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Stop the music. Stop the music. It's always our luck. Whenever we go to post the episode, that something breaks at the last minute. And as we're recording this, Dorothy's favorite player, not so much, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic. The magic is positive. That's right. He's got COVID.
That's crazy. Yeah, we were still on the Zoom call. We were just finishing the Zoom call. We're waiting for Chase to come on. That is huge playoff implications. I don't even know where to start with that.
I mean, Tua is their guy going forward. Tua is their quarterback going forward. He is the franchise quarterback. He was pulled only to kind of give them a little bit of a boost in that game against the Raiders, but Tua was probably going to start anyway against the Bills. This is not that big of a deal unless Tua goes down. And then you got problems in Miami. So hopefully Tua stays healthy. They have a good game against the Bills. I do think the Bills are really good, and they think the Bills are going to give the Chiefs a run for their money. So hopefully everything's okay for the Dolphins, and Ryan is asymptomatic or has mild symptoms and gets over this really quickly because we want to see him back. So
I'm more worried about just contact tracing too with that. I mean, how does that all work out? Where you're one of the lead quarterbacks. It's not like a practice squad guy that got it or whatever. That's
on a playoff team too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Ryan there. So let's go back to the music now, and thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.